Hello, I'm Commander Wiggy B. This is Elite Dangerous version 3.0.5, and welcome to another interesting builds video. The episodes in this series showcase some unusual and fun ship setups for experienced pilots to try. The builds can be challenging to use, but are highly rewarding as a result. In today's video, I'm going to describe my assassination build, the PBSF Lady Electra. This is a departure from my previous interesting builds, as, shock horror, it includes shields. Assassination has had a buff of late, with the introduction of wing missions, which are intended to be completed in collaboration with other players. They are considerably more challenging than the standard missions. You are expected to track down and attack a wing of 6, with the lead ship and principal target being either an Anaconda, Corvette or Cutter. In support you will find a range of ships including FDLs, Vultures, Cobras and Eagles. Due to their difficulty, the missions come with commensurately higher cash rewards, usually around the 3.5 million mark when you're allied. There are obviously faster ways of making cash, but this is still pretty good money. However, my interest is largely with the engineering material rewards. Exquisite focus crystals and modified embedded firmware being a couple of grade 5 items that you can now acquire in reasonable quantity through wet work. Missions can usually be picked up from warring factions and may or may not result in a bounty. Either way, your notoriety shouldn't be affected, meaning that an interstellar factor can quickly and cheaply restore your good name. With this ship and a bit of practice, it is quick, fun and moderately profitable to solo wing assassination missions. Before we move on, I just want to say that running assassination missions in a fully engineered Corvette or Cutter is probably going to be easier. But where's the fun in that? This ship is an intentionally marginal choice to add a bit of danger. When I'm not playing cleaner, this ship is also useful for hunting down power play merits, conflict zones and straight up bounty hunting, although its limited ammo does curtail your session times. This ship also has a little party trick that always brings a smile to my face. Gotta love an insta-kill when the opportunity presents itself. Okay, that's enough preamble. Let's head back to the station for a brief teardown of the build and a look at the mission board. So, starting with the weapons. This ship is intended for surgical strikes. Hit hard, kill with clinical efficiency and get out. It's not meant to slug out a prolonged wing battle. To maximise DPS and minimise distributor power draw, the primary armament is a group of 4 fixed frag cannons. Originally, I modified them all to double shot grade 5 with the screening shell secondary effect. This provides the maximum sustained DPS that is possible from a frag, at the expense of a very high ammo usage. On paper this is excellent for assassination, as fights are quick and brutal. Every second saved killing the enemy equates to a second less incoming fire. However, very occasionally, when attacking Imperial cutters with huge shields and endless cell banks, I would run out of frag ammo before I disposed of the mark. As a result, I am currently using a set of overcharged screening shell frags. These deliver almost as much DPS, but with half the ammo consumption per volley. A comparison of the two setups using Coriolis is on screen now. The double shot weapon is at the top and the overcharged down below. The sustained DPS figures are in parentheses, 65.1 versus 59.2. I've often been asked why screening shell is the best effect when all it does is reduce reload time. The answer is simple. For frags, the clip can be emptied in around 1 second. Standard reload takes around 5 seconds. As a result, the weapons are reloading for the vast majority of the time. Having the delay therefore makes an enormous impact on sustained DPS. To complement the frags, I have a huge gimbaled multi-cannon. This is modified to rapid fire grade 5 and uses the corrosive secondary effect. This combination provides good sustained DPS. It also gives a significant buff to hull damage for all 5 weapons once the target's shields are down. As the projectile velocity of the multi is significantly higher than for the frags, using a gimbaled version allows me to hit with both simultaneously. Rapid fire obviously uses up ammo more quickly than the standard weapon, and the corrosive special effect comes with an ammo reduction. However, even so, the multi more than outlasts the frags when I'm firing continuously. Before we move on, a quick word on the distributor. With this combination of frags and multis, I'm able to dish out constant damage with a paltry 1.5 pips to weapons. Skipping the utilities for now, let's look at the core internals. A few of the modules use old-style engineering mods. This isn't because they're better, it's simply because I haven't got round to re-rolling them. In the first slot, I have reactive composite bulkheads, and this is the only armour on the build. As a result, I'm looking for good protection against all forms of attack. The primary engineering mod is thermal to counteract the inherent limitations of the base module. The layered plating experimental effect then provides additional explosive resistance. The resulting resistances are reasonably balanced, and the hull seems to perform well enough for me to escape when things go wrong. Please note that Coriolis seems to be out of date with regards to these mods, so bear that in mind if you check out the build link in the description. The power plant is a legacy grade 4 overcharged unit. It produces enough power for this design and will be upgraded at some point in the future. Now the drives. As this is a high manoeuvrability combat ship, I'm using dirty drive tuning with the drag drive's experimental effect. This allows me to stay close to large ships and out of their fixed and gimbaled fire arcs without needing 4 pips to engines. The frameshift drive isn't particularly important for assassination. I'm using a 4A drive with a legacy increased range mod. Life support is derated to save weight and is engineered with a legacy lightweight mod. The reduced mass makes a small improvement to overall speed and agility. The power distributor is A rated and currently uses a legacy charge enhanced mod. The increased recharge rate from this part allows me to move pips to shields without sacrificing boost or weapon output. Finally, the sensors are A rated and modified for reduced weight. Now the optional internals. When soloing wing assassination missions, you will be taking fire from multiple enemies. Dodging incoming fire is therefore challenging. A hull tank is vulnerable to missile attack and is simply not appropriate. The first slot is therefore fitted with a 5A shield generator, engineered for thermal resistance to grade 5, and then supplemented by the force block experimental effect. The end result is a shield generator with highly positive resistances across the board and no additional mass. I could have fitted a prismatic shield here, but I find the standard one is more than good enough for PvE and light PvP. The next 2 slots are fitted with 4A shield cell banks, engineered with the specialised shield cell bank upgrade, and then the recycling cell experimental effect. The end result is reduced thermal load, reduced boot time, and significantly increased total recharge. Win-win-win. In the size 2 slot, I have a 2A interdictor, as I also use this ship for merit farming and background simulation work. The interdictor has the expanded capture arc mod to make hunting that bit easier. Rounding out the optional internals, I have a 1D module reinforcement package. This helps protect my drives if my shields go down, but if I'm honest, I usually have a docking computer in this slot for the simple reason that it winds people up. Lastly, the utilities. As I'm running a pair of size 4 cell banks, the first slot is taken up with a heatsink launcher. This is modified for increased ammo. Next up I had a choice, chaff or shield boosters. As this ship is intended for PvE against a large wing of ships, I have gone with a pair of chaff launchers. This allows me to reduce incoming fire continuously during a fight. As with the heatsink, these are modified to maximise ammo capacity. Finally, I have 3 shield boosters. Shield setup requires pilots to balance a variety of conflicting variables. Raw shield strength is effective against all weapons. Resistances improve the performance of each raw megajoule against individual damage classes, and cell banks top up a given number of raw megajoules after taking fire. Clearly, this build is heavily reliant on cell banks for its durability. To maximise the effectiveness of each recharge, I have largely focused on increasing and levelling my shield resistances rather than optimising for headline strength. Resistance boosters are also lighter than heavy duty parts, helping with speed and manoeuvrability. After engineering, my shield generator resistances are 34% kinetic, 40% thermal and 50% explosive. My aim with the boosters is to improve these values across the board, while also reducing the kinetic deficit. The first two boosters are therefore both resistance augmented grade 5 with the force block experimental effect. One downside to high resistance builds is a vulnerability to plasma weapons, which deal a sizable proportion of their output as absolute damage, effectively ignoring resistances. As a result, the third booster is modified to heavy duty grade 5 with the supercapacitor's experimental effect. So that's the build. Now let's pop over to Coriolis.io so we can examine the results in detail. For viewers who haven't been to Coriolis before, this is a superb tool that allows you to mock up, engineer, store and share your build ideas without having to grind materials in-game. I prototype all my builds here and would highly recommend that you give it a go. For this video, I'm going to concentrate on the row highlighted in blue. This provides a summary of your shield performance, and critically, it includes your pip setup and cell bank contributions. The current settings are shown at the bottom of the screen. With a single pip to systems, my absolute shield HP is 2736. Adding a second pip increases this to 3344, and a third takes it to 4208. This is a 55% increase in shield strength over a single pip, and 89% increase over 0 pips. 4 pips obviously improve performance further, but are impractical for this build during combat. Now I'd like to scroll down and look at the Defense tab. This is where I spend most of my time while setting up my shields. The pie chart on the left shows your 0 pips raw shield contributions. It is clear that my cell banks dominate the total. Using them effectively is therefore very important during combat. This is particularly true during PvP, where enemy commanders will often carry rails with the feedback cascade experimental effect. These act to damage cell banks during shield recharge and highly reduce their effectiveness. The chart on the right shows the effective shield strength for the 4 damage classes. Here is where resistances come into play. With 3 pips, I have an absolute shield strength of 4208. My explosive resistance is 65%. This means that my resistance makes up 65% of my effective explosive shield strength. This is equivalent to multiplying the absolute value by close to 3, and gives me an effective shield strength of 12k. This method of specifying resistances means that the results are highly non-linear. A 25% resistance only increases your shields by a third. A 50% resistance doubles your shield strength, and a 75% resistance multiplies it by a factor of 4. Seeing this, it may be tempting to simply max out resistance. This is a mistake, as resistance is a multiplier. If you start out with a very low raw shield strength, having a high resistance will not be very effective. Your goal is therefore to find the optimum mix of raw megajoules and resistance to maximise the height of each bar in the chart. Okay, so that's enough science. Now it's time to take on a mission. Here we have a typical assassination wing mission. The target is a terrorist and so will be wanted in the destination system of 49 Serpentis. His ETA window starts at 1825 and lasts until 1955, giving us an hour and a half to find him. In reality, we can turn up earlier, as you'll soon see. The mission reward is either 3.5 million in cash or some grade 5 materials. The time is now 1809, so let's accept the mission and go kill this guy.
Docking clamps retracted. Regulate speed until outside the exclusion zone.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Once you reach the target system, drop in on the nav beacon and then scan it to narrow down your target's vicinity. This step can be missed if you fit an advanced discovery scanner, but I prefer to have a bit more shield. Once that's complete, head over to the suggested location.
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
Approach to within a light second of the target and make sure that the name of the body is displayed bottom left. This means that you're in its local vicinity. As you can see from the clock top right, we're currently ahead of the target's ETA. However, a mission USS has already spawned. Time for things to get messy. Immediately on dropping in, switch to the targeting panel and select the highest threat. This should be an Anaconda, Cutter, or in this case a Corvette. This will be your target. Next, deploy weapons and check your pips are where they should be. Standard frag cannons have a very wide spread. Try and stay within 500 metres of your target at all times, or your DPS will drop considerably. 300 metres is even better, as more of your shots will land on target. With dual chaff, it's important to keep an eye on their status. When a launcher's left figure reads 0, it is active and expelling chaff. A 1 means that it's ready to fire. If you have chaff bound to a separate key, it's easy to fire both launchers at once by pressing multiple times. This is a waste and will leave you without protection while they both reload. Although there are 5 other ships in this fight, you can completely ignore them while attacking the next ship. Good shields should be more than capable of withstanding their assault. In most cases, the target will drop multiple cell banks. If you keep up the pressure, you may be able to knock out his shields before he's able to use all his banks, speeding up the kill significantly. During outfitting, you may have noticed that I have 2 cell banks with 4 cells each, and only 1 heatsink launcher. This isn't a problem if you fire the banks in pairs. When I need a shield boost, I fire a cell bank, and then a heatsink, and then wait a second or two before firing the second bank. The ship stays within its safe operating temperature throughout, and I don't have to fire any banks without heatsinking. Once the target shields are down, the corrosive multi makes them easy meat. As soon as he pops, you're free to leave. If you want the bounty cash, you can also kill the support ships, but this isn't required to complete the mission.
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
So that's the mission completed and ready for collection, within a elapsed time of 16 minutes. That's it for this video. Please do leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed it. I'd be interested to hear about your assassination exploits. If you hated it, please let me know why. Constructive criticism will be gratefully received. 07 and fly dangerous, Commanders. Wiggy B, out.